The stories presented in this video are real, but we have changed the characters' names and altered images to protect their identities. The creator of this video is not an investigative officer. These narratives have been sourced from various internet platforms. Our intent is not to accuse or target anyone in particular. Thank you for understanding.
On July 11, 2013, Jordan Lynn Graham, who was 21 years old at the time, was driving a vehicle with her foster brother Michael and her close friend Hannah. They were traveling to the Sun Road, which is a 30-mile stretch of a narrow, winding highway that leads up to a dangerous mountain overlook. They were looking for her husband, who had been reported missing on July 8, 2013. After getting a peculiar tip from a questionable Gmail account, Carmen Tony 607, they were searching for proof of Cody Johnson, who some friends who want to remain anonymous claimed to have witnessed falling from a cliff at Glacier National Park. Within the message it was said that they are positive that he fell, and he is dead, Jordan. Alongside the potential widow, Cody's relatives and friends traveled through more than 1,500 square miles of territory that was home to grizzly bears, mountain lions, fast-moving rivers, cliffs, and convoluted pathways. Jordan led them up that one cliff out of all the others, stating she had a hunch about it and refusing Michael and Hannah's numerous proposals of places to go. At the top, they came to a stop at a parking area and then proceeded to mount the circle path. It was an exceedingly steep road, leading up to a 200-foot cliff overlooking a big gap. Jordan made her way to the top of the cliff with dexterity and ease, and then she leapt over rocks that were uneven in order to reach the edge of the cliff, where she obtained a view of the valley below. She replied, "I think he's down there," as she peeked over it and hurled a rock. Confirmation and collection of the corpse at the bottom of the ravine required the brave acts of an FBI agent who tied himself to a tree and leaned over its edge, along with the help of various emergency services and a helicopter. The dead was Cody Johnson, a well-known businessman, community leader, and newlywed auto enthusiast. What part did Cody's wife and the intriguing Carmen Tony 607 play in his coming here? And who were Cody's intriguing companions from out of town when he fell? These were the questions that tormented the Kalispell Police Department for days to come. Born in San Jose, California on April 8, 1989, Cody Johnson grew up with his mother, Sherry Johnson, with whom he enjoyed a strong connection. In 2002, they migrated to Kalispell, Montana's northwest. Situated between Glacier National Park and a lake of the same name, it is a modest holiday town in the Flathead Valley. The majority of Cody's early years were spent enjoying the great outdoors, going on long trips with his companion and establishing his lifelong interest with all things automotive. Cody was real, according to his friends and family. He was pleasant, amiable, and selfless. He was one of those extraordinary persons who, once they got to know you, wouldn't think twice about going above and beyond to aid you. Additionally, Cody had the good fortune to turn his lifelong interest for autos into a thriving enterprise. In his adolescent years, it began with automotive modifications and enhancements for racing, although it did eventually evolve to incorporate commercial vehicles. In addition to manufacturing custom and commercial automobiles, Cody was working at Nomad Communications, where he partnered with his uncle and a handful of his automotive-loving buddies. The fact that Cameron Fredrickson, his boyhood best mate, was his boss also didn't hurt. For Cody, everything was pretty much perfect. The only thing lacking was somebody to share that life with. Cody was seeking for a life partner when he was 23 years old. After sharing his wish to wed a devout lady with his buddies, he eventually met Jordan on Halloween 2011, the woman who would ultimately turn his life. Jordan Lynn Graham was born in August 1991 and raised her family in Kalispell throughout her whole life. She was reared in a deeply religious environment and worked with families and babysat at the Faith Baptist Church. Her faith was the core of her existence. Her dream was to one day become a stay-at-home mother and raise a family. All of her friends were members of the church. When Jordan and Cody first met on Halloween 2011, they clicked. They started speaking once she overcome her initial nervousness. She discussed with Cody her dreams to start a family and her affinity for the outdoors and the natural environment. Jordan had feelings for Cody, but she wasn't interested in a serious commitment and was just 20 years old. They stayed friends despite going on a few dates. When Cody started pursuing her actively, everything changed. He started attending First Baptist, her church, and he started to interact with her social circles. Their casual relationship gradually blossomed into something more, for one of them at least. When they formally began dating in November 2011, Cody was utterly charmed with her. He adored her and hoped he could spend all day and night with her. A few weeks into their relationship, Cody was adamant he wanted to marry Jordan, according to Cody Johnson. He remained unaffected, even when Jordan assured him that she planned to stay pure until marriage. However, people who were close to the two noted that Jordan didn't seem to have the same deep feelings for Cody as he had. Some blamed it on her modest attitude, while others showed a bit more anxiety about the imbalanced connection. They didn't touch hands, flirt, or display affection in public. When Jordan accepted Cody's proposal 1 year later, in December 2012, the majority of her friends were taken aback. After a year of dating, they believed she wasn't serious enough to be married, but they were nonetheless thrilled for her. Jordan showed off her beautiful ring on Instagram and said, "He proposed." The most incredible Christmas surprise that arrived early. A joyful expression. The planning for the marriage began as soon as June 29, 2013, the intended date. Jordan's best friend and matron of honor, Kimberly Martinez, was also heavily involved, as did Cody. Jordan, nonetheless, looked to be the one with the greatest interest in the wedding plans. She even performed a rendition of a tune that the couple had Elizabeth Shea, a professional composer, construct. In retrospect, the song's lines appeared unsettlingly prescient, but her attitude worsened the instant Kimberly, or anybody else, brought up the issue of really getting married to Cody. Her true thoughts about the relationship were clear on her wedding day, and she continually questioned her matron, Kimberly, if she was doing the right thing. She was a bundle of nerves. She looked to be trying not to look her hubby in the eye, and was continuously gazing down. Jordan looked to have recovered sufficiently for the wedding portraits, and by the time of their first dance, she was entirely focused on Cody. But this euphoria would not persist for very long. She phoned her companion from the hotel where they were honeymooning the morning after their wedding. She hadn't finished their marriage and turned her husband away the first night of their wedding and the 6 other nights following that. "I'm not really wanting to do anything, but I just know he will want to." And still another. "I honestly hope that utilizing the "my period started" shtick tonight works, because I will lose it if I have to do something against my choice." As it transpired, Jordan had a serious dread of having sex. She was concerned about establishing an intimate connection with Cody because of her ideals and her true love for him. Up until July 7th, 8 days after their wedding, pressure remained growing. Jordan had a surprise for Cody, so he had to postpone their scheduled golf excursion at the last minute. The couple headed to the neighborhood Dairy Queen for a group meal with a few of their friends following church and some alone time by the lake. The last time anyone saw Cody, he was coming home with Jordan. The first person to notice Cody's absence was Cameron Fredrickson. He consistently arrived before the workday began and was a good employee. Far into the work week, Cameron stopped by Cody's new home, which he and Jordan had acquired previous to their wedding, when Cody had not come home. He continued knocking and receiving no response, so he felt a little worried and opened the door for himself. He went throughout the residence but had very little luck in locating any indications as to where Cody and Jordan may have fled. When Cameron noticed Cody's phone in the garage, his anxiety turned to horror. He noticed immediately away that something was odd. Cody took his phone with him everywhere. Leaving it behind may have signaled that he had undergone a tragic occurrence. Cameron discovered out after making a few calls that nobody had seen him since the 8:30 Dairy Queen lunch. Cameron ran directly to the police station to report someone missing, and the officers were quickly worried about the matter. Cameron was in so much pain, it was hard not to. Chaz Zimmerman was among the first persons to interview Cameron. He felt it weird that his supervisor, not his wife, had filed a missing persons report. When Kimberly ultimately contacted Jordan later that day, she asked him what had happened, and he answered as follows. She claimed to have observed him drive off in a black car wash template with a few pals. She explained to them that while they were leaving the restaurant, he received a call that left him pretty anxious, so she took the choice to give him some space. She did, however, visit the garage later that evening to grab the phone charger she had reportedly left in their vehicle. She received the following text from Cody as she was making her way back from the car. I received a message indicating that he was preparing to take some of his visiting pals out for a ride. He would take his buddies to Glacier Park when they came to visit, even though I had no idea who they were. That was the one thing he constantly told me. She reiterated to the police what she had told Kimberly. They hadn't fought that night, she assured them, and she didn't recognize any of the males. As for the explanation for his departure, Jordan confessed she felt Cody was likely joyriding with his out-of-town mates. She replied to the police that she didn't want to upset him by reporting him missing, if he was going to return in a few hours when they questioned her about why she hadn't reported the disappearance. Friends and relatives of Cody and Jordan had reunited in their family home 48 hours after Cody departed, and at this point, they professed amazement at Cody's conduct. He didn't appear to be preparing to leave his wife and keep his location a secret. Jordan persevered in recounting her tale up until Kimberly confronted her. She looked to become increasingly apprehensive as the unplanned meeting progressed. Jordan ultimately lost her rage to the point that she hurled her wedding band across the room. While some assumed it was merely Kimberly's unusual coping strategy, she was confident there was more going on. When she reached home, she gave her companion a call. Jordan was hauled into the station the next day, when the police questioned her over her inconsistent answers. Sometime that day, Sherry Johnson also saw the police, who had Cody's phone records from the day of his disappearance with them. She hoped the anonymous man Cody contacted would offer some information regarding her son's location, as she was concerned about him. However, it turned out to be a car friend phoning to give Cody back a tool. He had a perfect alibi, hence he was thrown out as a suspect immediately away. Cody went away as his wife was giving birth. After exhausted every lead, the police concentrated once more on Jordan. She was plainly telling a tale, but it didn't add together. The break in the case they were hoping for occurred on July 10th. Carmen Tony, 607, sent out a bizarre email indicating that Cody had passed away and that the search could be discontinued. Greetings, Jordan. Tony is my name. Looking for Cody is no longer an issue. He has departed. Jordan, emotionless on her face, walked up to Hannah with the email and informed her what Carmen Tony 607 had stated had transpired to Cody. It was alleged that he and his intriguing friends had tripped and fell over a cliff at Glacier National Park. After reading the message, Hannah almost lost her calm, and she had to pull a slow Jordan to the police station. And I'm wondering, what are you talking about? In a scared manner. I check the email and discover that Jordan, Cody is no longer with us. Feelings? Number. She wasn't even weeping. I start to tremble after she gives me this email. She followed my directions to go to the police, but I felt like I was speeding things, just saying what you doing. Don't merely glance at me while standing here. The email did not halt the police probe. On the contrary, it heightened their degree of paranoia. That an anonymous email would supply them the information they were seeking for and urge them to give up on their hunt seemed tremendously useful. Detective Corey Clark was more worried with Jordan's emotionlessness than any specifics in the correspondence. The message effectively confirming her husband's death seemed to have no effect on her. Jordan took the choice to fly to Glacier National Park with her close friends and family in order to seek for Cody, based on the details mentioned in that email. Jordan appeared especially cheerful to Hannah during the entire ride to the park. She waved her hand out the window on the way up there. By the end of the first day, they had discovered nothing, so on the second they went back to look. Jordan then suddenly found Cody's body. She says, "I think he's down there," as we stand there. "What are you talking about?" I asked. "How could he possibly go down there at all? Why would someone act in such way?" "There's a purpose for this wall. The bulk of the damage from the fall, according to the coroner, was to his head and arms." Jordan was glad at Cody's passing, but Hannah claimed that Cody's friends and family were heartbroken. There was a body, and the police would no longer be hunting for it. But the difficulty was, the cops still had no idea who Carmen Tony 607 was. Jordan led them toward Cody's buddy and fellow automotive enthusiast Tony Stalcup when they were initially questioned about the letter. Though he hadn't seen Cody in a few months, he granted them unrestricted access to his accounts out of anxiety for him. The email address they were seeking for was not located, and there was not much information in Jordan and Cody's phone records. Therefore, they had to get in touch with Google in order to subpoena Carmen Tony 607's IP address. The officers visited with Cody's family and friends once again while they awaited the information. At that time, Kimberly ultimately told the authorities about Jordan's dangerous mental state. She constantly questioned if she should wed Cody and displayed astonishment and fear at the prospect of engaging in sexual intercourse with him. She prayed she could go back in time and undo her marriage to Cody. She messaged Kim after Kim recommended her to tell Cody how she felt. "I ought to be content, but I'm not. It will destroy his heart if I tell him." It was 2 days before Cody departed from her life. The previous night he was in my face and held me down. And then they uncovered this communication on July 7th. She had intended to speak with him and was terrified of his answer. She got up to Kim's apartment later that day and briefed her about the talk with Cody. Not very excellent. She reported that after Cody grew highly upset and concerned, she took the decision to leave in order to give him time to settle down. She remained the night at the residence of her step-parents. This made Jordan an even more plausible suspect, as the police discovered. And at roughly the same time, the Google information emerged. The email address Carmen Tony 607 was generated from a computer at her stepfather's residence was validated. Jordan was revealed to be the creator in a quick interview with each Graham family member, but it was inadequately solid proof. Cody and Jordan's cell phone records were. The night Cody vanished, the cell towers placed them near Glacial National Park. CCTV footage also showed the two entering Glacial Park at 9:17 p.m. Зрение после того, как она отрицала, что она была с мужем в тот вечер. The solution to that is only known by one man. That's Jordan Graham. Jordan broke down in tears when the police took her in on July 18, 2013, and they gave her the proof. Finally, she offered the investigator her story of what occurred on July 8th. She states that after telling Cody how she felt about their marriage, they had a furious disagreement. They both made the choice to visit Glacier National Park, so they headed off to explore the circle. In Jordan's own words, the tale closes. Thus, he would have slid down the slope, face first. Why did you keep turning around before pushing him away? I guess it's because things were so profoundly emotional. I was experiencing every sensation I could possibly conceive, including irritation and wrath, simultaneously. The detectives were anxious to connect the dots between Jordan's confession and the wayward scarf she referenced in regard to the blindfold. In the end, nothing was established. Jordan further testified that Cody had no intention of suffering the attack that would ultimately result in her death, and that her death was an accident. Did you not have any plans to kill Cody? Number, all right. That wasn't something you had planned. The whole thing simply sort of happened and heightened the situation's drama and passion. She offered the following remark when questioned why she had pushed her husband Cody from the bridge. She alleged that when he turned to face the cliff and turned his back on her, she approached him and used both hands to force him off the edge. Jordan also confirmed that she sent the texts and established Carmen Tony 607 at her stepfather's apartment. Surprisingly, Jordan was still free when she left the police station that day. She was texting on her phone during Cody's funeral on July 22nd, but the police did not pursue her at that time. any lingering compassion for Jordan gone with just one act of scorn. Whether it was a text or an app, she was using her phone. Since murdering Cody was the only way Jordan could reverse her choice without exposing herself or her family, rumors had been developing that she had done it in order to get out of their marriage. She wouldn't need to petition for divorce if Cody had passed away. Her conduct during his funeral effectively reinforced such whispers. There were rising concerns regarding Jordan's former love for Cody. Jordan faced allegations of making false statements and first- and second-degree murder. After examining her case, the jury added the accusation of premeditated first-degree murder. On December 9, 2013, her trial finally got underway. The minute the trial began, the prosecution relentlessly followed Jordan, and after a few days, things did not look to be going well for her. They scrutinized her narrative, raising critical inquiries such as why she lied and whether or not she was serious in her contrition for her deeds, all while deceiving Cody's friends and family. Cody's family and other loved ones' testimonials surely did not back her case. She was presented as a callous, cold-blooded lady who killed her spouse to avoid having a sexual relationship with him. Jordan pursued a plea deal for second-degree murder after her defense team failed to convince the court that her case could be won on the basis of self-defense. The prosecution agreed to abandon its first-degree murder allegation in return for her serving 30 years in jail without the opportunity of parole. Jordan tried to withdraw her plea previous to her sentence, although, after discovering that the prosecution intended to charge her with premeditated first-degree murder. The maximum term for it was 50 years, and the U.S. Donald Malloy, the district judge, will consider whether to accept her plea or order a new trial. Jordan Lynn Graham was sentenced to 30 years and 5 months in jail on